News.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another week of Breakfast All Day. Matt and Christy are here. I'm Alonso, and, the West Coast is on fire, and Trump knew all along that COVID was a bad, bad thing, and here we are. Welcome to September.
And it's 9/11.
That, too.
We are talking to you on the 19th anniversary of 9/11.
Yes.
It's a weird
I'm outside
day.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so what is the air like where you guys are? Because down here in Palos Verdes, even though we're like near the beach, like the air is not clear. It's brown and it's weird.
Yeah, it's brown and chewy. I was telling Matt before we closed the windows late yesterday afternoon, and I still feel it in my eyes and in my throat. We have one room with AC where we're trying to sort of circulate the air in there, but you can sense it even when you close the windows here.
Matt, what about you?
The skies are blue and breezy. No, it's gray and terrible here. Or gray. It's an overcast, full of smoke. And Alonso did scold me for being outside as we were shooting today.
We've been told not to.
Yeah, I know. It was worse yesterday. It smelled more like smoke yesterday, but maybe I'm just used to it at this point. So I probably shouldn't be outside, but
I was using my Calm app last night, and it was telling me breathe in and out. I was like, it smelled like I was in the room with somebody smoking a cigarette.
That makes it worse. Yesterday when I checked the weather on my phone, instead of saying sunny or cloudy, it said smoke.
Oh,
I've never seen that before.
Mine just says unhealthy air quality.
Stay the fuck indoors.
Maybe smoke was telling you what to do.
Ugh.
Oh.
Anyway, it's a weird world that we live in. And then, as you guys probably know, because I posted about it, I went and saw Tenet last week. I'll tell you quickly about my trip to see Tenet. I wrote about it on my website. I wrote about it on ChristyLemire.com, but I'll tell you briefly how it went. I think I figured that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday during Labor Day weekend at a beach town, there wouldn't be a lot of people going to see Tenet. So I got singular ticket for a 2:10 showing at the Regal in Oceanside, the closest place that's playing. Of course, now Orange County theaters are open. This weekend, Orange County got upgraded, so their theaters are open now. But I went on opening weekend, and it took me 2 hours and 20 minutes to get down there.
Yeah, just the tackling the 5 part already seemed like an act of foolish bravery.
Well, it's just going down there. It's it's beach traffic at San Onofre. I was in stop traffic. I actually missed my movie and went to the 2:30 instead. And I was sitting in the very, very back where we always sit. I actually even scooched farther away from people when I saw a dude 2 rows in front of me eating popcorn with his mask off the whole time. And I think I was just so discombobulated by the whole process, between sitting in traffic and hauling ass there and just the weirdness and the foreign nature of being back in the theater again. It was not this joyous experience that I'd expected. It wasn't oh my God, I'm back at my home away from home. It was I was edgy and distracted. And maybe that's the best mindset to be in for Tenet, because Tenet just drops you into the action immediately, and it's very disorienting from the very beginning. My quick review is that I could have waited. It's technically dazzling, as all Nolan films are, and the big set pieces feel weighty and substantive, but over and over again in all of these big action sequences, the story is so confusing that I had a hard time even getting fully engaged in these big moments, because I would stop and ask myself, okay, why are we here again? What is supposed to be happening? The mythology of the whole backward forward time stuff is so complicated that I feel like Nolan made it intentionally disorienting, and he made a movie just for himself to enjoy.
What? The director of Memento?
But the thing is, you expect the time travel, the mind bending. I love Memento. I love Inception. I love Dunkirk. And I love the puzzles of those movies. And this is just it's so distancing and so cold and so hard to figure out. I'm I'm dumb, you guys. I had to post on Facebook, who of my friends has seen Tenet so I can ask questions, because I've got a lot of questions.
What's the deal with the sound mix? Because I keep hearing from people that it's muddy and you can't hear what people are saying.
I mean, that was the case with Interstellar, too. A lot of times people are wearing helmets and they're talking their microphones on their helmets.
Oh no!
So it's hard to understand.
So it's a movie full of Banes.
It is, and again, when you're Christopher Nolan, like, and you're such a stickler for every technical detail, I feel like that's a choice.
One of the theories I've seen is that his hearing is bad.
And he won't acknowledge it.
No, seriously.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I've seen some theories that like his hearing is off, and so the mix works for him and nobody else.
Well, that would keep with my theory that he made this movie for himself and not for other people.
Well, that reminds me of a story. Apparently, when Michael Cimino was in post on Heaven's Gate, and there was some scene where there's like, horses trampling through and people are screaming and blah, blah, blah. And there was like lines of dialogue, and other people would say, we can't understand what's being said. And he's like, what are you talking about? I can understand every word. And they were like, well, yeah, you wrote it,
Well, right. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad I did it from a curiosity perspective. From an actual enjoyment of the film perspective, I could have waited. At some point, I'm sure you guys will see it or not. Maybe you'll never see it. Maybe this will be your line in the sand that you never cross. But
who knows?
I could have waited.
Yeah, two things that I've heard in the last couple of days, somewhat related to restrictions or lifting of restrictions, is I believe in LA County. Salons are back to opening at 25% capacity. So maybe I'll get my hair cut.
Salons are back. You could do that.
And then also, and this is the more important thing, Halloween has been canceled.
No, that's not true. They walked that back.
Oh, they walked back?
Yeah, well, like within a day. They're like, oh, no, just kidding.
Yeah, big candy.
I mean, if you're wearing a mask...
Right.
If you're
Although I will say to everybody watching, because I posted this on Twitter the other day, like, I volunteer. Anyone in LA, if you're worried about trick or treating, I'll dispose of your candy. Send it to me, and I know that this is a burden, but I'm willing to take it for everyone.
I would say this would be a good time to bring back the whole Dr. Groceries thing of the beginning of the pandemic. Maybe have a table in your house where you put the Halloween candy, let it sit there for like a day before you unwrap it and start dealing with it, just to be on the safe side.
But as even our president knows, it's airborne, Bob. It's transmitted through the air.
Right,
I'm
but
not sure that touching candy matters.
Services aren't to be entirely discounted. Let's just put it that way. You can wait a day to eat your candy. Did the Tenet experience not me, but did the Tenet experience quell your desire to like go back to the theater anytime soon?
I mean, I don't really have any great desire to know. And my theater wasn't that crowded. It was a big auditorium. There were maybe 20 people there, and they were all scattered about.
Yeah, but you moved twice, right?
I did move twice. I moved to the absolute back corner, where I like to be anyway. But I'm trying to figure out when I can see a movie I have to see next week for review. And they're offering to set up a screening for me in a screening room where I would be by myself. So that's weird. Like, oh, I got to drive up to Santa Monica and see a movie again.
I would be comfortable doing that. I think
by yourself.
If it were just me in a theater, yeah, sure.
So I'm gonna go. So I'll see Annabellum next week by myself.
Okay. Well, they have already.
So $5. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say they're standing firm at the moment that Dune is going to be December 18th and Wonder Woman 1984 will be Christmas Day. But we've heard that song before. $5 what, man?
$5 says you get there and somebody else is ready to sit down in the theater too.
It's in a theater where they have candy too. A screening room.
I'm telling you, they're gonna. We know how the studios work. Oh, it'll be just for you, and then you'll get there, and somebody else will be there in spite of what they said.
And if they haven't told you that, you should walk.
But that's the thing. If you say I'm not comfortable with this, then they'll give you shit and be like, oh, you're going to really walk away for this?
And that's, I'll tell you, I'm glad you said that word, because the notion that this is all contingent on our comfort level is some bullshit. Like, it is not about, it's not about our comfort level. It is about the way that the world is set up right now. And again, it all comes back to the 3 T's until there's like widespread testing, widespread tracking, and eventually a treatment. Like, we can't just pretend that this is a thing where, oh, I personally feel not comfortable about it. No, it's not about my comfort at all. It's about the reality of the situation we're in. It's not my responsibility to be comfortable or not comfortable. It's about, the studios acknowledging what's actually happening in the world and how they're going to handle this.
Well, let's talk about the studios and how they're handling it. Yes, thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
So Tenet, is on the majority of theaters screens that where the theaters are open, but it didn't do gangbusters, and so Warner Brothers, which pushed out Tenet upon Nolan's demands, is now holding on to Wonder Woman. It was supposed to open October 2nd. They're now pushing for December 25th, Alonso, as you mentioned, and they're saying, we love Patty Jenkins and we're proud of this film. We want it to be seen when it should be seen. But I have to think that is a decision because she's a woman, and she's B, not demanding her film get out, and C, Tenet didn't do as well as they thought it was going to, so they got to wait for more theaters to open. I think it's all
also
I think it's all in there, sure,
right? But I like to think, we were texting about this earlier, I like to think part of it is not necessarily a knock. I mean, I don't mean this as a knock on Jenkins. Like, she's not a fucking prima donna.
Right. She's not demanding it. Yeah.
Right. She's not, mommy, no. Right. I mean, the other thing too is we know that a movie similar to Tenet, like, the whole point of a big blockbuster is groups of people going together. You want that full theater, right? Like, look, like, yes, we want to get back in the theater, but let's not forget that a big full theater is a different experience. And something like Wonder Woman depends on that. Now, according to Dr. Fauci, we may not be ready for that till another year.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about that. That because I think that headline was deceiving.
Because he was talking mainly about live theater.
Jennifer Garner is interviewing him, and she asks him, when can we see our favorite performers on stage again? I think it's a different experience, having that kind of interaction with people. Yeah. But the word theater went up there, and I think people extrapolated it to assume movies.
Right. And also he's theorizing, and I mean, I trust his theorizing more than most, but we'll see what that means. But I agree. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon still, because even if the vaccine happens at some point, and November is not going to be a thing when it happens, it's going to take the better part of a year for it to actually get to people and be manufactured and all of that stuff. So there is definitely going to be a lag involved with that. Getting back to the Wonder Woman thing, though, you're right. I think the crowds do play a big part of it. I mean, like, after the recent passing of Chadwick Boseman, somebody retweeted that clip that goes around Twitter periodically of the theater, somebody shot it inside of a theater the opening night of Avengers Endgame, when, like, the Wakandans and everybody else comes out of the fog after whatever, and it's that it makes me cry, partially because of the Boseman thing, but partially because of, like, that moment of being in a packed theater and everybody whooping it up and going crazy when something amazing happens in a movie. That's a thing that we're going to be away from for a while. I think part of the thing with this whole pushing back the Wonder Woman date, you're absolutely right. I'm sure she's a lot more chill about this stuff than Nolan was. And again, Nolan can stand for, like, I want my film must be in a theater all he wants. He still could have said in 2022, like that part is the thing that I don't get. But I think also that what plays into this probably is the notion of piracy. Like that's why you see these global opening dates, because they think that if it opens in the US first, then it's going to be, then pirated versions will make it to the rest of the world, and vice versa, with the internet now. And so it's like we got to just dump it everywhere, and until the US can be part of that everywhere, then that's going to really gum up these big event movies that they want to have out in theaters. And I don't even know what the math is for studios when they know that all these theaters are operating at like 25-30% capacity. Of course their opening weekends are going to be disappointing.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who are proponents of the big screen, can you imagine the garbage we'd be hearing from Tarantino if he had a movie in the can waiting to open in theaters this year? Can you imagine?
I'd rather not.
Yeah, we need to move on because I know our time is kind of limited today. Toronto Film Festival has begun. They are showing
Yes.
some things in person. They are showing most things virtually. So we're beginning to get reviews now of American Utopia, Nomadland, One Night in Miami is supposed to be amazing.
I've seen it.
Oh, is it great?
It's quite good. Yeah. I was really impressed. Regina King is taking this like 4 guys in a room play and has managed to sort of open it up in a way that doesn't feel inorganic. And the 4 performances are really great. I look forward to people getting to see that. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Cool. Yeah. So that's happening. And then the New York Film Festival also is happening virtually. And it's a strange thing, that, again, this should be a celebration of the communal experience, and it can't be, but we still have to, from an industry perspective, still move the product along. So it's a weird kind of uneasy middle ground, I suppose, for a lot of these folks. I
am accredited to both and will be filing reviews for both. So please go. I am back at TheWrap, by the way.
I'm really happy to hear that. When did that happen?
Wednesday. Got the call on Wednesday that that we're ready to roll and award season's happening, and they wanted my voice in the mix. So so I'm back and so I will be reviewing stuff out of both festivals. My inbox is filling up with links as we speak.
Good. Speaking of award season, we got to talk about the new Academy diversity requirements that were announced this past week. It's basically 4 different lists of places where people in front of and behind the scenes need to reflect a greater representation. And it's everything from actors to directors to people on the finance end of it to just distributors. And so it's interesting because it only has to fulfill 2 of these 4 categories. And I am already envisioning a world in which the big studios do the absolute cursory least, to make that happen and still qualify for Best Picture. It doesn't until 2024, but they're putting the machinery in place now.
But I get the feeling, having read that stuff, and look, I think it's a great move, right? I mean, could they do more? Sure, but I think that it's let's do this. Great, totally on board with it, and I think that what I thought was telling was, especially the behind the camera stuff, one of the points was if you're going to qualify, I think it's section C, you actually have to do both of these things. And one of them was, a certain amount of representation with department heads, and then just employees, not counting production assistants, right? Which makes me think, okay, somebody who put that list together knows how some of the studios and some of the production groups will try and get around it. We hired a bunch of PAs.
It has to be meaningful.
It has to be meaningful. Let's not, hopefully, and considering that the Academy is, at least when it comes to Best Picture, sticklers about how producer credits work, hopefully they're not just going to be randomly giving people producer credits.
Well, okay, so Mark Harris, who I think does some of the best writing about the Academy Awards on a cultural level, had an interesting kind of Twitter thread about this, where he was like, this is well-intentioned. I'm glad they've got a few years to iron the kinks out. There are some things that are already kind of red flags. He talked about it, how it's basically structured in a way that gives the studios a leg up on indies, because if you're a studio and you have a super diverse marketing department, then that counts, and also this includes paid internship, which is a thing that studios can do that a lot of indie companies can't do. So just a lot of different areas where there were, he goes, the notion of declaring people's sexual orientation and, disability status runs into issues with, federal employment privacy requirements. Exactly. He said just the whole notion of whether or not Jews count could make the whole thing blow up in terms of steering it to a really ugly place. So, again, whenever we have this conversation, we always talk about how if real change is going to happen, it's at the other end of the assembly line. It's in the studios and who makes the decisions and what films get greenlit and yada yada. And this is, I think, at least the Academy being well, we can't control any of that. We're not studio execs. We're not, production funders. We do give these awards, and we can decide what the rules are for you to qualify for these awards. And so I admire that effort to do it. And I'm glad that they've given themselves time to sort of like figure out what that's going to look like. And it's not one of a, hey, we're doing a most popular best picture next year, you know, and then now we're not, you know, so I'll be curious to see how this plays out. But I kind of agree with Harris. I admire the intention. Let's see what the implementation really looks like.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that this was a list about specifically what qualifies for Best Picture.
Yeah,
Best Picture, yeah.
Right. So, like, this doesn't mean that the rest of the awards are off the table.
Sure.
Right.
You're already dealing with a rarefied air of, you know.
Right. Which, you know, that maybe that's enough of a carrot for, you know, the ego at the top of the studios.
The prestige of that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of why people will four-wall a theater in New York or in LA, even if they don't really have a chance. They want to think they do. So it's like, well, I want this movie to be eligible for Best Picture, so I guess I got to go hire these folks and make this happen. You know,
for your consideration.
Totally.
Okay, so we have that. Neon is releasing this Alex Gibney documentary that he's been like stealthily doing that's coming out in October in time for the election called Totally Under Control. It's about the Trump administration's handling or lack thereof of the coronavirus.
Great. I look forward to seeing it. It will not impact the election. I suspect.
I mean, what will, right? Every time you think something's going to happen, Lordy, there are tapes, right? Like you think something is going to make a difference. Did you see that someone did a cut of a bunch of people that Jim Acosta talked to at this most recent Trump rally in Michigan?
Yes.
Did you see that? So
why they're not wearing masks?
Why they're not wearing masks, right? So Trump does the thing he does where he flies into a place and, you know, he does the event at an airplane hangar. So all he has to do is like land, walk down the stairs, babble for an hour and a half, and then fly out. But it's like people crammed together against Michigan rules as to the number of people you can have in a gathering legally, and they're all not wearing masks. And people have various reasons for why they don't wear them. My favorite was this guy says, I can't understand people when they're wearing masks. Like, right. But
and the reporter says, well, you can understand me.
Right. You can understand me, but also like you don't wear a mask on your ears. It's not covering up your ears.
But that guy's wearing them wrong. Right? He's got masks on it.
The worst was the guy who was like, who denied that it even existed. He goes, but there's tapes of Trump saying this week that it was dangerous and that it does this. He goes, well, that's a matter of opinion. It's like, yeah, there is no reaching. Look, we're watching The Vow. You cult members cannot be easily reached. And that's what's happening here.
Right. It's also a totally horrifying story. I'm sorry, Matt, really fast. This in Time magazine this week. This reporter went to Wisconsin, to various cities all over Wisconsin, and how many of them believed crazy QAnon conspiracy theories. Anyway, and how much that's going to impact the election. Matt, go ahead.
Which was the rally where they played Fortunate Son?
The same one in Michigan, like
plane.
Last night. Someone's fucking trolling him. There's no way he understands what that song is about.
His campaign music, his campaign theme will be YMCA.
They play YMCA all the time in his rally. They've been playing You Can't Always Get What You Want for years. Why?
Vanity Fair said after 9/11 that irony was dead, and I guess they were right.
I guess so. I need to go back to how bad our air is. Have you guys seen somebody edited together drone footage of San Francisco, like neon orange San Francisco with the Blade Runner 2049 score?
Yes.
It's so good.
Yep.
It's so chilling. Yeah, it's bad. What else? Okay, speaking of people who don't wear masks, Carrie Walsh, Olympic gold medal winning beach volleyball player, Carrie Walsh, who's 6'3", and I've interviewed her. She went to a grocery store.
You interviewed her navel?
No. Hello, how's it feel to be tall? She went to a grocery store.
Oh, right, yes. And she called it an act of bravery.
She posted about how it was an act of bravery, and she got so much shit about it that she was like, oh, I'm sorry.
The germs don't go up, so she's okay. Right, like Shaq doesn't need to wear a mask.
She's showering droplets on everyone else, though.
No, but Shaq's fine. Like he's not gonna. He's too tall. That's the answer. Wear stilts.
I wonder if she thinks too, like, oh, I'm an athlete, I can't get it. It's like, may I introduce you to Russell Westbrook and Novak Djokovic. What else? Oh, very sad news. A couple different pieces of sad news I have for you.
Yes.
One is Lubies and Fuddruckers are closing.
Yes.
One of the many casualties of the coronavirus. Many businesses that can't keep it afloat.
Lubies, home of the Luann platter, which inspired the character of the same name on King of the Hill. Mm-hmm. And with Fuddruckers, I tweeted that bit of news and I said, stop trying to convince you that Idiocracy isn't going to happen.
Because what was the place called? It was eventually called Buttfuckers, right?
Yes. they just cut the pretense.
We used to, because we went there in school, we used to call it Ruddfuckers, which does sound like porn involving Paul Rudd. But yeah, I've never been to Lubies.
You rename all the food places, right? Pizza Slut.
You have to. I've never been
Taco
to Lubies, despite all the years I spent in Texas. And
you never ate at a Lubies? Really?
No, I've been to Fuddruckers, though. They had really good burgers. Anyway, that is sad. Also very sad, Keeping Up with the Kardashians is finally going off the air after 20
Our long
seasons.
national nightmare is over.
Their last season will be in spring of 2021.
Right, because they're all going to get their own show.
They already all have had their own show.
They had that ship has sailed. I think we are entering into the next phase of the culture. You know, like they were sort of the one thing that managed to survive out of that, like Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan moment, you know, of like these sort of celebutante dipshits. But I think now we have finally that well is now finally dry, but just in time for, like, you know, Kim and Kanye's children to do heaven knows what.
Let's remember that Lindsay Lohan actually did act and was someone to enjoy for a while. I don't think
absolutely.
She necessarily counts as the celebutante.
She was talented and she was great, and then, but unfortunately, I think she did.
Right, but not like.
You're right. Paris Hilton never really accomplished anything. But, you know, Nicole Richie, weirdly enough, has turned out to be kind of a funny actress now. But and look, they were all very crafty about, like, monetizing that moment, heaven knows. But, you know, I think it is now. This is the death knell of it.
Yes, and also finally, Diana Rigg left us this week at age 82.
Yes. And if you are a member of our Patreon, we have offered up 5 of her films for you guys to choose from, one of which we will review. Right now, Evil Under the Sun and On Her Majesty's Secret Service are neck and neck. But if you would rather that we talk about The Hospital or Theater of Blood or The Great Muppet Caper, then get on there and vote. And if you can't, you have to join our Patreon at the $5 level, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. But yes, she was a legend. You know, I think one of those actresses who was very easy to sort of think, oh, she was a Bond girl, oh, she wore a cat suit on TV, but, like, she had the stuff and she could do everything from, you know, act opposite Miss Piggy to Game of Thrones to Shakespeare to whatever. Like, she always brought it. She was one of the great talents of this century.
Well, I will admit that I don't think I've seen a few of these movies that are on our Patreon off the menu. So I look forward to digging into whatever you guys choose for us. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Matt, do you have marquees?
Yes, I do.
And I got to read a spiel with one of them. Matt, okay. You caught me. I was in the middle of doing radio when you caught me and asked me if we had photos from Instagram. And so this is why they're all in weird, disjointed pieces. But I've got something to read when you get to the one.
Well, when we
Fargo.
get to it. We will do it. Let's see.
I sent you one that a friend of mine posted on Facebook. I don't know if you're using it. It's not so much the marquee as what's around it.
I may have missed that one.
A friend of mine posted a marquee from Northern California where it was just like that Blade Runner orange sky. It was very disconcerting.
Okay.
Hang on.
Got a bunch.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Messed up again.
It's okay. It's all in there somewhere. Has this week been crazy?
It has
to
been.
say the least.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So this is what let me get to the slideshow. I know it's killing everybody to have to watch me do this. Okay. So this is from the Senator Theater in Baltimore, from a story in the Baltimore Sun about people going back to the movies. And they were showing Tenet, and this was a note that said, "Welcome back to the movies, Baltimore." Although, as the article said, maybe there should be a question mark after the welcome back.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Sorry, I have loud birds in the backyard. Okay, next up. This was the Barnyard Cinema sent in by Bill Drumheller This is Winthrop, Washington, in the Methil Valley, not far from where Lynn Shelton's movie My Effortless Brilliance was filmed. And the marquee there says, "Ignorance allied with power is the most ferocious enemy justice can have." And that's James Baldwin. Then underneath that, it says, "Peace and freedom to the world."
It's a very cool kind of Western-looking sign. It looks like the front of a ranch.
Rough-hewn.
Right?
Yes.
Next up, this was a picture from Eric Riley. He said it was taken in Jamestown, Kentucky. He and his girlfriend made the very long trip from LA to visit family for the Labor Day weekend. He spent all his childhood summers in this town of 1700. Would always go to that theater for summer blockbusters. Was very surprised to see they were still open. But Alonso will be happy to know that he did not see Tenet.
It's not about not seeing Tenet. It's just about not going to the movies at all. But well played.
Yes.
This is a very sad little mini mall movie theater.
Right. Okay, next up. This is the Film Bar in Phoenix, Arizona. This was sent in by Henri Ng. World's first drive-through movie theater. I'm really curious as to how that works. Tamales, wine, beer, and coffee to go. First run virtual films. So I guess I should look up the filmbarphx.com and see.
Maybe it's a really long tunnel.
I guess what you do is you drive through and you pick up your tamales and your wine and your beer, and then you go home and you log into the filmbarphx.com, and then you can watch your virtual screening.
Or you get on something like when your car goes through the car wash that takes 2 hours and you stay in, and it's like the super speed tunnels that they had on the People Mover at Disneyland, where it's showing the movie, and when the scene changes, you go to the next room.
Cool.
That'd actually be really rad.
Yeah.
Okay. Jakob Kolness from Fargo, North Dakota sent this to us. Beautiful sign at the beautiful Art Deco style Fargo sign there. It says, "May the mask be with you." And Christy, you said you had something to read for this one.
Yeah, he has a long note. Here's a marquee from the historic Fargo Theater in Fargo, North Dakota. Despite North Dakota lifting restrictions on theaters being open, including the multiplex theaters owned by Marcus, the Fargo Theater, which is nonprofit, independently run, and survives mainly on funds and donations, remains closed for the safety of the public and due to lack of content. They screen mostly independent and occasional retro cinema, and they are the primary home for film festivals and concert events. The theater has been around since 1926, and the theater marquee is perhaps the most recognizable landmark in the city. There's even an organist that rises from the stage and plays show tunes before each weekend evening screening, never having lost its classic vaudeville touch it was famous for decades ago. I can't imagine a day in my life that this theater isn't still around, and it being closed now the last 6 months with no planned reopen has been one of the hardest losses since COVID began, especially since it's also sandwiched between 20 bars on the same strip that are all open and packed to the brim every weekend with the usual partying Fargo drunks. Thank you, Jacob. Hope you can get back there safely.
Wow. Gorgeous marquee.
Right. Here's another one that's gorgeous too. Kelly Mahoney. Oh, I'm sorry. This is wrong. This was sent. I don't know that I think I missed the note on this one. This was sent in and said things are getting dark over at the Royal.
I sent you this one as well, actually, because we drove past it. And I tried to get the new art on the way back, but we went on Wilshire instead of Santa Monica. But I guess multiple people sent you this one because this one's better framed than mine.
There you go. All right. Next up.
Say what it's playing.
Sorry. It says now playing. This is the end. Coming soon. Good night and good luck. Yeah, rough. All right. Next, this is the Plaza Theater. The marquee says, "We think your mask is sexy. Mask up Kentucky." But it's all, the last line says mask up Kentucky, but it's all pressed together.
I think it's a hashtag.
Yeah. It just looks like mask up key.
Hi. I've got a blurb from our friend Kelly Mahoney about this one as well. The Plaza Theater opened in 1934 in Glasgow, Kentucky. The theater closed in the 90s, then was purchased and renovated by the town as a live performance venue. You might think this sign is a bit liberal for a small Kentucky town, but at the time this picture was taken, just a few blocks away was a small outdoor rally for Amy McGrath, the Democrat running against Mitch McConnell. P.S. Please tell Christy I said hi. She's hot. Hi, Kelly. Not sure about the hot part, but hi.
And confirm.
Walk outside.
Okay, next. Twitter user Masomodi sent this in. This is the Cinesphere in Toronto showing Tenet all day long this week. Only 50 seats are available for each showing, lots of distancing. So this is the screen inside that says, in these unprecedented times, we are excited to open our doors and welcome you back to the Cinesphere.
You can see the red where they're covering up entire rows.
Yeah, also... welcome you back to the Cinesphere sounds like welcome to the Terror Dome or something.
The sinister Cinesphere.
Right, and then here is nobody else. And yes, this person's kid was not happy about getting their picture taken.
And one-way arrows on the row, like at the grocery store, where they tell you to walk down one way and walk the other way. Interesting. All
right, next up, this is Twitter user, thisismattsosa, sent us this picture. This is Montclair, New Jersey. The world needs some Spike Lee knowledge right now. It's the Bellevue Theater marquee that says, always do the right thing. And then this is a couple of pictures from Trevor Evans-Young. He says, hey, I've got a couple of marquees for you. Went on vacation for Labor Day, found two. The first one is from Brevard, North Carolina. And that is, I can barely read it because it's small, but it says temporarily closed, gift cards available at the coedcinema.com. That's the Coed Cinema. So,
ooh, they allow men and women.
Yeah, exactly. It's very exciting. And then the Fine Arts Theater, that's an art house theater in Asheville, North Carolina. It says now playing anytime virtual cinema at fineartstheater.com. And that's it for the marquees this week.
Those were great. That was a really great cross-section, you guys. Thank you so much for sending all that in. We love seeing them.
Always appreciate that.
The bar by my house, I didn't have time to go get the picture today. I was going to do it this morning and ran out of time. There's a bar that I guess recently reopened, and they put together patio seating outside. It's called the Norwood, and it says, we are back, haters.
Yeah. Suck it. We get COVID and you don't.
That's right.
Right.
You're not going to. More freedom.
Wrong.
Oh, brother. All right. Well, listen, everybody.
Hate the bar?
I don't know. Have a good week, you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. It's very important. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Please like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And again, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. If you are in our $5 tier, you can vote on which Diana Rigg classic we'll be reviewing in September. We've also got exclusive goodies like our recaps of HBO's Lovecraft Country and The Vow. So check all that out. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.